Guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm gonna be reacting to a video called My Healthcare Experience in Europe as an American. I don't think it's a surprise to anyone that the American healthcare system is not that good. I don't think it's a secret. I think most people will tell you it's a bit of a nightmare, but I don't know. And I guess obviously in Europe things are, I think they're a little bit different, but I don't know. Let's hear his experience. So let's check it out and comment, like, and subscribe.
Hey guys, so I'm going to talk about my healthcare experience when I went to Europe. So I just got back from a trip to Europe. I went to Barcelona in Spain, and then I flew to Amsterdam. I was in Barcelona for a week. I was in Amsterdam for a week too.
Lovely.
And then I went to Vals, which is in southern Holland, for my uncle's wedding. And I went to Mönchengladbach, Germany for 2 days, and then I flew back home. So when I was in Amsterdam, I hurt my foot. I went dancing for too long in a nightclub.
Okay.
And the next morning when I woke up, my foot was like it hurt really bad. It really felt like someone had like taken a hammer and almost smashed right behind my toes on my left foot.
That sounds bad.
And it was swollen, but there was no marking, so it really, I was kind of confused. I was like, why does it hurt? And I guess I just had overstressed it. So I took it easy for a couple days, and then I decided, then I went on a walking tour of Amsterdam. I did a guided tour of the red light district and this like museum tour and stuff like that.
Sprained ankle?
So I was walking around for like 2 hours straight.
No.
And normally that's no problem. I walked like 6 miles a day when I was in Barcelona, and I've been biking around all the time in Amsterdam.
Yeah, but with an ankle.
But by the end of the walking tour, my foot was just hurting really badly. And I was limping, and I knew it was no good. So the next day I drove.
I hate when that happens, when you're trying to power on through, but then comes a moment where you're like, I have to go to the doctor, I have to go to the hospital, this is not good.
Drove with my uncle to Vals because we were going there for his wedding. And, not much improvement at all. I think I waited one more day, and then on the day of the wedding was starting at like 1:32, something like that. I was like, okay, I gotta go to the doctor. It's not improving.
Yeah.
It's getting bad. So I was at a hotel, so I asked the hotel reception, where's the nearest doctor? So they pointed out on the map for me, and it was like a block or 2 blocks away. I think it was 3 blocks. So I called them up, and the recording line was in Dutch, so I had no idea. I speak German and Spanish pretty well, but I can't speak Dutch, so I had no idea what they were saying on the recording line.
That's bad.
So I said, screw it, I'm just gonna go straight there. So it was I think it was around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, something like that, on a Thursday. And I walked there. I limped to the doctor's office.
Grab a cab.
So I get there, and I check in, and I just go up to the desk and I say, hey, how's it going? I got this problem, blah blah blah. They take my ID, they scan it, they tell me that it's going to be 25 euros for the doctor to check me out. So keep in mind, I'm an American citizen. I live in California. I have health insurance here, but I don't have, it's not international health insurance. So I'm over there. I have not. Yeah,
that's one of the things. Technically, you should always have insurance when you're traveling overseas, but for situations like this. But I think a lot of people just do not do this.
I'm a citizen, and I have no health insurance. So they tell me, okay, so it's going to be 25 euros for the doctor to see you. So I say, okay, all right. That's like what a copay is in America.
Yeah.
So I go. I had to get cash. They wanted me to pay in cash. So I was like, that's fine. So there's an ATM across the street. So I went and got the cash, and then I waited probably like 10 minutes, maybe. It might have even been less than that. It was like 10, 15 minutes. I went and saw the doctor. She examined my foot. She did a thorough job. She looked at it. She said, she asked me questions, blah, blah, blah. She looked at my other foot to compare. My left one was kind of swollen and blah, blah, blah. So she looked at the foot. She said, okay, I think you need an x-ray. I think it has like a stress fracture. And she heard my whole story and everything. she said, I don't have an x-ray machine here, but I can write you an x-ray recommendation for a hospital. So I said, okay, that sounds good. She wrote me the recommendation, and then she said, I can give you it's like a painkiller / anti-inflammatory prescription. So I went.
I'm thinking how much.
So I said, okay, great. That sounds good.
The X-rays?
I'll take the prescription. So she gave me the prescription. There was a pharmacy in the downstairs of the doctor's office. So I went down the elevator, went to the pharmacy. They filled my prescription, and it was €7 for this like painkiller / anti-inflammatory pill. So and it was funny because they said, "Oh, do you want a receipt so you can try to get your health insurance to pay for it?" And I just started laughing. I was
no, it's fine.
I was like, what's the point? I'm going to spend like an hour on the phone to try to get
$10,
€5 from the insurance company or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, it's fine, don't worry. So I had the painkiller, and I had the doctor, the recommendation for an X-ray. Okay, so the next day, so the wedding happens. The next day, my foot's actually feeling a little better, probably maybe due to the pill she had given me.
Yes.
And so I'm driving with my relatives to Mönchengladbach, which is pretty close to the German Dutch border. So my aunt, my great aunt, she takes me to the basically the emergency room in her town, Mönchengladbach. So I go there. They had me fill out a little bit of paperwork. They like photocopied my ID. I signed a couple things. So I go to get the X-ray, and First, I'll tell you how long I waited. First, I check in, then I go back to the emergency room. I probably waited about a half hour. I think I made like a phone call, and I read a couple news articles on my phone. It was a half hour, and this is an emergency room. And again, I have no insurance.
I'm imagining something super crowded, but 30 minutes is nothing.
And I'm not a German citizen. So
yeah.
Go there. I wait about a half hour. I go and see the doctor. The doctor examines me again. I tell her the whole story. Then she says, okay, we're going to give you an X-ray. So I walk down to the X-ray room. They do the X-ray. I go to the reception room in the X-ray wing of the hospital, and they say, okay, your charge is €20 for the X-ray. So
oh, okay.
I'm like, all right, great. That sounds good.
I thought it was going to be more.
So I go back up. They look at my X-ray. They say, okay, you don't have a stress fracture, but you need to take it easy for a bit. They're like, you have lots of inflammation.
It's sprained.
And, you just got to take it easy and et cetera. So they give me this, they give me like a pain cream, and they wrap my foot up, and they send me on my way. So I leave the hospital, and I tell my aunt, I'm like, yeah, they only charged me €20, and she, you know how the Germans are. She's like, oh, that's not right. You probably owe them a little more. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I go back to the billing office, and they determine that I owe them another €60.
Ooh, okay.
So my total charge for visiting an emergency room in Germany was €80, and that included an X-ray.
That's crazy.
So if you did the same thing in the United States and you didn't have health insurance, especially if you weren't a citizen, I'm sure the X-ray would probably cost at least $300 or $400, and then just the fact that you're in the emergency room would at least be another couple hundred. So you'd probably be at the door $500. I show up, not a citizen, no health insurance, and they charge me €80. And I was happy. I waited a half hour at the emergency room, and I waited like maybe 15 minutes at the doctor's office in Holland. So overall, I think my experience was pretty good, and I was happy that I didn't have a fracture, because that would have really ruined the rest of my trip.
Yeah.
And so it was really good. But I just hope that this leads to a further discussion about the healthcare system we have in the United States, because over there they have a combo it's mostly universal healthcare, so it's like single payer universal healthcare where the government pays for it.
Oh yeah, because
And
taxes.
in Germany,
Of
you can
course.
buy. I think in Holland too, you can buy supplemental healthcare insurance. So like if you're some reason you're not happy with it, then
Yeah, you can have private.
pay extra money. But the prices are way lower.
I don't know how that is.
The wait times were faster, if you ask me. And what a lot of people will say, they'll say about they'll rag on the Canadian system, or they'll rag on universal healthcare systems. They'll say, oh, the wait times are forever, and you're going to get a shitty doctor and poor
Wow.
care. And I never had that problem. And granted, I only went to two different doctors' offices, and a doctor's office and an emergency room. But yeah, that was my experience. So hopefully you can pass this on to other people and tell them, spread the truth. All right, have a good one.
I was gonna say, well, spread it. Next time you just sprain your ankle in the Netherlands, go and spread your ankle there. Not really. I think it's. I mean, yeah, of course. I think I would be very upset. Well, not upset. I'd just be worried, because if you're, again, it's not a secret. I think everyone knows how expensive healthcare actually is in the United States. But I think it's something that you kind of know, as it is a nebulous thing that you just are aware of, but you're never actually thinking about the sort of the reality, unless you're actually experiencing it, or, someone tells you, write out their story as in, oh, this happened to me and whatever. But I think ultimately, again, you're sort of aware, wow, it's really expensive. But I think you actually get the sense and how you can grasp how things work in other places. And I think an apt comparison only happens, again, when you're sort of experiencing the other side, and you go and you tell, like, this guy, he's telling his story, and he's, this was, an x-ray was this, and I had to go to the ER, and it was this, they charged me this, my prescription was this, and I didn't have any health insurance, because, he didn't opt for the international sort of healthcare, whatever. But I think it's really, again, you're thinking, when he was telling the story, I was thinking, oh, I know that, because I know that it's cheaper over there, but obviously I have no idea how much it costs, because I don't know, unless, of course, you have either the experience of someone that's sort of lived it, or, you're actually, sadly, you are in the situation in which you kind of have to. You're not gonna know. I know it's a little bit cheaper, but I have no idea how much it is. But I think X-rays tend to be, I think, to me, because prescriptions, I think, are a little bit, especially I think for painkillers and what is it, and anti-inflammatory. I would assume, well, it's sort of Tylenol. Maybe it's something a little bit stronger, but because it has a prescription. But I'm not thinking it's gonna be that expensive. I'm thinking where you get me is the X-ray. I think the X-ray, it's oh my god, alarm bells just started going off, because I think usually I don't think I'm used to, well, I don't know, X-rays tend to be quite, everything that involves another exam, another study, a machine. I think it's just, oh my god, how much is this gonna cost me? I think it's gonna be very expensive. But, oh, yeah, it was just, what, 30 euros, 25? Oh, okay, that's fine. It's going to be okay. And it's funny because, I don't know, because, again, this is the perspective of, well, he's not an immigrant, but he's a tourist. He doesn't have international health insurance. So I'm wondering how the cost actually varies if you're a national if you're a Dutch person, or what, he also went to Germany, right? Or if you're a German person. How much, to compare, how much does it cost? Because, of course, if you have, again, if you don't, although, again, he mentioned, no, you can actually have private sort of health insurance as well. Obviously, it's universal healthcare. Of course, it's going to be free, or I think probably next to nothing. But I would love to know, if if you're Dutch, or in this case, you're German or whatever, if I don't have any health, I don't have any private insurance, I don't have anything. Can you go, of course, you go to the ER, you go to the doctor. Is it free? Is it absolutely free? No charges, whatever? Or you can pay, a minuscule amount. Maybe you're going to pay 10 euros, 5 euros, but, you're still going to pay something very, very small. Or is it free? No, absolutely free of charge, absolutely anything. You have to get your prescription. No, your prescription is going to be, of course, you're going to have to pay. But if you don't have, again, for the instance, the X-ray, if you have an X-ray, you have to do this, or maybe another study, or, I don't know, whatever, another study, I don't know. Do you an MRI? Do you still have to pay? And again, I'm wondering how much actually is. I'm not expecting to be that, super expensive, but I would love to know the actual prices, because I think in comparison would be, I think it would be very interesting to know how much it compares to, the experience of an American that doesn't have international health insurance to a Dutch person or a German person that doesn't have it either. But I just want to know the cost, just because I think it would be very fun. Obviously, and don't even get me started. And let's compare this to the US. No, of course, in the US it would be absolutely astronomical. No, it wouldn't be fun. It would be fun as in, how interesting, but it would be kind of sad and depressing. But I would love to know in Europe how much, how much they pay. And also, if they do have insurance, if Germans or Dutch people have health insurance, I said, obviously it's going to be free, I guess. And then, because my insurance covers this. But then I would love to know, then how much do you pay? I would assume it's monthly. And I would love to know how much are the costs. Because I think in the US, a normal, because obviously you have to have, obviously, insurance. But I think a normal, I don't know how much would it be, but I think it's just around maybe $400 monthly. I think that would be if someone tells me I pay up $400, that would be, okay, yeah, sure. That's what I was expecting. That's around the number for normal. It's not going to be super great or anything. This is going to be, normal insurance. I would expect it to be around 400 mark. But that's what I would assume. So I would love to know how much in the Netherlands people are paying, if they're paying for private health insurance. How much is it monthly? Or maybe, because it's always monthly, right? And if you have to go still through your employer, or is it, no, you can go sort of super private? And no, I don't, because what happens if you don't want, I don't want the one that my employer is offering. I don't know. I want to look for something else. I want it for me or whatever. I don't know. I would love to know the little details about it, because I think again, it's how you actually get to see how do they compare? Because again, it's one thing that but you sort of, and it's a thing. But once you actually get the stories, as in real life, you actually get to see, okay, I can see how things work, and how they actually, again, how they compare, the result, basically. But it's also really funny that he was mentioning, people complain. Because and even Europeans, he mentioned Canadians as well, but I've heard of Europeans complaining about, the public system, no, the healthcare system sucks, it's bad. But mostly it's not because it's bad as in, you're gonna have a bad doctor, or what, because whatever, you can have a bad experience with any doctor everywhere else in the world. It's not particular to one particular country. I think it's very personal. Your experience is gonna depend, and maybe someone has a great experience with this particular doctor, but then maybe you had the worst experience of your life. Is just gonna be very different. Again, it depends on the experience, it depends on the person, it depends on so many factors. But ultimately, when people are complaining, what I've heard them complaining about, it's the wait times. The wait times, it's not that it's bad. Again, the quality is good. However, the bad thing is that you're gonna have to wait for months and months and months. So obviously that could be, if you have an emergency in this case, I sprained my ankle, I can't wait 6 months. Well, to begin with, I'm a tourist, I'm going to be out of here in 2 weeks. But I'm guessing for people that live there, again, if you have an emergency, as in I need to go to the ER because I don't know, whatever, something's happening to you and it needs to be dealt with because it's an emergency. Of course, things are going to be different, because he mentioned, no, they got me in what, 30 minutes, less than an hour, which I think for the ER, I think that's really good, because sometimes if it's an ER and you're expecting things to be moving a little bit faster, a little bit quicker, because again, it's the ER, it's an emergency, people need to be, it's an emergency, can please someone look me up. But again, people are saying, and they're going to complain, no, because it takes forever because of the bureaucracy, and they're going to get you, and you have to have, again, I'm talking about the US, you're going to have your car, your insurance, or whatever. It's going to be a whole thing. And apparently here, no, it's just 30 minutes less, 15 minutes, which I think is good, again, for an emergency. But I think if you have, and I think that's where I'm going with that, people complain, and when people are complaining about this, I think maybe I've heard of them complaining, but about the wait times, as in they refer you to, I don't know, a specific doctor, and then that's where I think maybe the complaints come of, no, because it's kind of a little bit collapse. Maybe collapse is not the right word. It's not that serious, not that dramatic. But because of course there's a lot of people that live in the countries. Then I mean it's gonna take some time for you to for the doctor to actually get you in, because the wait times are a lot. But ultimately, in the US, that also happens. You get a referral, and then you have to wait for months on end for an appointment. So ultimately, it's okay. So in the end, you're kind of arrive at the same place. So I don't know, but maybe again, I've just heard some people complain about it. Obviously, ultimately, I think it's Americans complaining more than Europeans because, of course, again, it's, we all know for the reasons that we already mentioned, the American healthcare system, it's a whole thing. It's a very separate thing that doesn't have a lot of things in common with the European ones, technically, well, mostly. But again, it's funny that how people are always complaining, but maybe that just tells you there's always going to be room for improvement, whether that is you think it's great because obviously if you're an American person, you're gonna be thinking, wow, this was incredible. The European healthcare system, amazing. Yes, can we all replicate this? But it's funny that Europeans still complain a little bit. So it's kind of, okay, for them, of course, if you compare it to what I come from, this is incredible. But it's funny that they're still complaining. But again, it's just maybe because there's always gonna be something that we can improve, and that's good. Again, we should all take it as a feedback. We can all improve. So great. And that was it for today, and I'll see you next time. Bye.